friend. It's so good to see you back in my studio finally. Welcome to another edition of Networking Know-How. And today we've got a really special topic because it's timely with some of the conversations that I've been having lately. And actually, some of the speakers I've been listening to in my mastermind have brought up this really interesting concept of decoding relational capital versus relationship capital. So I've heard these terms, not relational, excuse me, reputational capital versus relationship capital. So, what is reputational capital and what is relationship capital, and how are they different? But more importantly, why should I care? Why are these important? And so these are the things we're going to get into in our conversation today. So I will be decoding reputational capital and relationship capital here in this episode of Networking Know-How. If this is your first time here, I'm glad you're here. Get up and chat. Let me make sure I can see chat so we can have a conversation, because I really want to make sure that I hear from you, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching on replay. It's important to have a conversation because that's what we do here at Down and Dirty Networking. We are a private online community that is 100% focused on relational networking. So what does that mean? We are not transactional. We do not do 30-second commercials and sales pitches. You will not get pitch slapped here inside of our community. We are 100% relational. And what that means is we are focused on having meaningful conversations to learn from and about each other to build lasting and authentic relationships. And in our community, it is stress-free networking where you actually enjoy it and you don't think of when you think of networking. So that's what we do here. And what I do every Wednesday, sometime between 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, I go live for this episode of Networking Know-How to share a tip that we use inside of our community that will help you network more stress-free yourself as you're engaging into networking and transform you from that UG to meaningful and increasing your vibrational energy with every connection you make. Okay, if we have not yet met, I'm Laura Morlando, the Stress Commando, and I am the founder and CEO of Down and Dirty Networking. And so let's kind of dig into this because I'm super excited. And I see someone watching live. Hey, let me know where you're watching from. Get up there and chat. Thanks for joining in. So let's dig into this. Let's decode the difference between reputational and relationship capital. So first off, let's explain what the terms mean. So reputational capital, I have to give a really big shout out to the executive director of the American Businesswomen's Association, Renee Street, because she's the one that first introduced me to this topic. I was at one of the ABWA conferences, which is the American Businesswomen's Association conference, and she said the term reputational capital. And I was thinking, what is that? That sounds interesting. I was very much leaning in. I interpreted what I thought it meant, but I really wanted to hear the definition. And basically what it is how do you show up in the world? If you are showing up in a certain way, you are either adding to your reputation or decreasing your reputation. Since I am focused on always showing up with excellence, my reputational capital, in a sense, becomes my personal brand. So think about it if you were on the job and you work for a corporation, you're an employee. What's your reputation amongst your coworkers by the way that you show up? Are you always on time? Do you show up powerfully? Do you show up positive? Are you negative? Are you showing up professionally? What is your reputation? And the way that we engage, specifically with networking, depending on which mindset of networking you engage in, if you're in more of the transactional side where it's all about you and one-way conversations and kind of pitch slapping everybody everywhere, that it is more about in corporate, hi, my name is, and you're pitching yourself for a job, a promotion, or to be assigned on a specific project. If you're more in the entrepreneurial space or you're in the sales space in a corporation, it's all about buy my stuff. And so that is more of the transaction. It's more of where a pitch fest kind of comes in, where you're giving those elevator pitches ad nauseum for everybody. That's more the transactional space. Now, what if you were that person, and I used to be that person, that felt that that's what networking was all about, is how much you could sell, how many leads you could get, how much business could you transact? If you feel that is you, and if you are, no shame in your game. Like I said, I was that way too. When I felt that way, I was constantly showing up selling you something. What do you think that did to my reputational capital in the groups that I was a participant in or with coworkers or any get together? I was pretty much known as the person that's going to sell you something. I was avoided as much as possible because they knew if they talked to me, I was going to sell them something. So it's safe to assume my reputation wasn't very positive. It wasn't very powerful. And the number was, wah, just like my lights just went off. I have been having technology issues all day long. It's why I'm in my studio, not on my phone. It's one of those days, but you keep moving forward. And that's what I hope I'm adding to my reputation. I will always find a way. I will always show up with excellence and I will keep moving forward. When you make an intention for what your reputation is going to be, when you make an intention for what your personal brand is going to be, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur, you're in sales, or you're in a corporate or professional type of a position, that is how you're going to show up. So what you intend is how you will deliver, and how you deliver is either going to add to or subtract from your reputational capital. So what do you think your reputational capital is with those that you know? Or what is your reputational capital with your family? Is it you're always on your cell phone? How is the brand of you, the reputation of you in the eyes of those that are around you? That's what reputational capital is. And we are 100% in control of our reputational capital, and we're either adding from it or detracting from it. All right, so let's look at the other capital. So let's talk about relationship capital. And I've been hearing this term a lot from the speakers that I've been listening to in the mastermind that I'm in and some of the other programs that I'm in. Relationship capital. So, relationship capital is how much investment have I done in our relationship? Am I more of the person that only reaches out to you when I want something? If I'm back being that salesperson and I simply want a sales, a lead, an introduction, or something, and I'm really focused on always making an ask for myself without any consideration of what's going on with you, then I'm not really pouring anything into our relationship. So not only am I tanking my relational capital, but my relationship capital with you is very, very low. So when I need any kind of assistance, you're less likely to want to provide that to me because I'm never going to reciprocate. I'm always a one-way street. I'm always a one-way conversation. So let's flip it on its head. What if I am showing up powerfully and I am being intentional about showing up excellent, powerfully, and positive, and I pour into our relationship by making sure I'm thinking of you and I'm doing it in a meaningful way? Basically, leveraging everything that we talk about every Wednesday about relational networking. This is me depositing into the relationship capital of the two of us, into you. So if I remember your birthday, which we talked about a week ago, how remembering someone's birthday, important milestones, and celebrating them is a fabulous way to connect and make a deposit in the relationship bank of the person you're celebrating. And so when you're making those deposits, it gives you an opportunity when you need an assist, they're more likely to help you out because you've built that relationship. Now, if you're focused on being relational versus transactional in the way you interact with everybody, people are going to recognize that you're being authentic and genuine. Genuine meaning you truly care about them. You truly are cheering them on. And this is where it makes all of the difference when you are needing some assistance. So let me share a personal story. So, if you've been watching this, you might know that for the past year, I've been dealing with different health issues for myself, but also with my family, with my husband and my mom. In the last 8 months, it's been a very specific healthcare giving journey for my mom that ultimately resulted in her passing away. I was always focused on depositing into my reputational capital for years and focused on really depositing on the relationship capital, specifically with my clients, my friends and family, and those that I interacted with. Thankfully, I did that because I did not know I was going to have to ask for grace when I needed to move an appointment because my mom needed my attention, or we had an emergency situation or a doctor appointment. I was like, I hate to have to do this. Can we shift the schedule a little bit? I've got to take care of my mom. And this is what's happening. And everybody knew what was going on. Everybody afforded me the grace, was completely considerate of it. And in fact, we came up with some wonderful alternative solutions to give me some flexibility and peace of mind to put my mom first and foremost. And part of that was me being heart centered, and the way that I approach things allowed me to attract heart centered people. And because I had attracted heart centered people, they were very generous with their heart when I needed it most. Now, let me just say, I'm not one to ask for things like that. Even though I told you I was that person by my stuff, I was following orders from the person that I worked for in corporate. They said, "This is what networking is. I want you to go and pick up X amount of business cards, and I want to see how many leads you get from this event." That was my task. I'm very obedient. I did what I was told, and it just backfired hugely. Thankfully, someone corrected me and gave me permission to get a do-over and rebuilding my reputation, because it was obvious I didn't know what I was doing. And so I appreciated the grace way back when I was starting my networking journey in corporate. They realized I was following orders and being obedient, and wasn't trying to be malicious in any way, shape, or form. And thankfully, they saw my heart. So they gave me a second chance. And ever since, I've been building into the bank of reputational capital and building into the bank of relationship capital. And so, fast forward, when I needed it, when mom has been sick, it's been amazing. I cannot tell you how humbling it is for me to have to ask for help in that way. That's not what I do. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, I don't ask for help, but I could really use some leads, or I could really use some connectedness, or I could really use something that's more meaningful. I feel like I'm standing on this island of alone and I'm the only one doing everything. I'm so overwhelmed. If this is you, I want you to focus on engaging in relational networking, being more authentic and meaningful with your connections and conversations, and focusing on depositing in the bank of your reputational capital. If you have never ever heard this word before, if you're like me and you were hearing this for the first time, like I was when Renee Street said it at the conference for ABWA, think about how you would like to be known. Pick 3 adjectives. It doesn't need to be hard. It doesn't need to be a life mission statement. Pick 3 adjectives for the week that you would like to be known. And then you can augment it as you go. And so powerful, excellent, and positive will be how I will show up. And so, how do you want to show up? What actions will you focus on to deposit into the bank of your reputational capital? And then think about your relationship capital. What relationships do you value, even though maybe you've been horrible to them and you've just really neglected these relationships, but you value them? These people get all access passes to you. If you were a high rise, they get penthouse access to you. Who are the people that get penthouse access to you that you need to make sure they know that they matter to you? Those are the people you reach out to first, and you deposit in your relationship capital with them. And may you never need to call in and ask for assistance, support, vibrational energy lift, or grace because you're enduring something challenging. But let's face it, life gets lifey, as my mentor, Jen Gottlieb, who wrote the book Be Seen behind me, she's like, life gets lifey. And I love that she says it, because I agree, and I'm living proof of it right now. Life gets lifey. So what can you do when you do need to have help? The number one tip that people kept telling me over and over is, Laura, you don't need to do this on your own. You do not need to go through this journey of caregiving for your mom on your own. And though I instinctively knew that, when I first became the stress commando, it was because I pivoted from being a corporate professional into an entrepreneur, because I was so stressed out watching my father, who was so stressed out, get diagnosed with a very rare cancer. And as the financial caregiver during his cancer run, I realized, you know what? It's time for a change. And that is ultimately what created the Stress Commando and where I became an entrepreneur. So it's not surprising to me, if you're listening, that both my parents, my mom died when she was got cancer when she was the most anxious in her life, and my dad the most stressed out in his life. Stress and anxiety are not worth it. Trust me on this. It's not worth it. Move forward, do you. Choose to be positive. And if you can't, you're thinking, not today. I cannot do that today. That's okay. Say that. Say, you know what, Laura, I can't do it today, but I could really use some advice. I could really use an increased vibrational energy today. I'm struggling. That might be your ask that you need to make of your professional network. You'd be surprised how many people would be willing to support and help you. Because here's the other thing that I learned. It feels good to give. And when I went through the journey with my dad, I buckled up. Female, minority, you do not ask for help. You do not let them see you sweat. You keep moving forward. Just pile it all on. telling you it's not sustainable. It's not a good practice. That is where you get on the island of alone. And ultimately, I was doing the very same thing that I thought I wasn't. I was not, I was like, oh, I'm doing what my dad said not to do. I'm just doing it in a different way. So yeah, I inherited more than his curly hair. So I would tell you, your reputational capital and your relationship capital are two different things. They are related and they matter. They absolutely matter to your fulfillment, your peace, and also your progression in your career. When I started focusing on these two things, this is where everything changed for me. And the mindset shift that needed to occur was to be more relational in my networking, relational in the way that I was engaging with coworkers, vendors, clients, anyone that I met in my day versus transactional. It was a mindset shift. And it's why I have been training on this relational mindset for over 16 years. So I encourage you to adopt what we are founded on in our Down and Dirty Networking community and really adopt a relational networking mindset and be intentional and focused on depositing into your relational capital and, excuse me, your reputational capital and to your relationship capital. And you have 100% control over that. So pick your three adjectives. What do you want to be known as for your reputation and show up that way? And then in your relationships, who do you need to focus and let them know that they care? Do not assume that they know. And even if they do know, tell them again, because it's always nice to know they care. And when it's time for you to get an assist and ask for help, you'll be more likely to get it. And go ahead and ask, because it always feels good to give when someone really values you. There were a lot of people that were really able to help me, and it made them feel good to be able to give to me. And in the midst of all of this with my mom, there were people I was able to help, and it made me feel good to still be able to have value and create impact despite the full plate that I had. So remember, it does feel good to give. So do not deprive somebody of that opportunity to give and pour into you. But make sure you've earned it in the way that you show up and that you've earned it in the way that you connect with relationships. So I hope this was helpful. Give me a thumbs up or a comment. Thanks to those still watching live. I appreciate you for being here. And just know you're in control of this. It's all completely up to you. It's something that you can move forward and adjust as needed. And it's something that can 100% impact your in-person, virtual, and day-to-day life by investing in both your reputational and your relationship capital. Can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. Let's have a conversation or drop me a DM. If you have found this helpful, make sure to give us a thumbs up or comment. And if you love these tips and would like some more of these relational networking tips, or how you can have more of a relational networking mindset as you are doing traditional networking, then I encourage you to check out the Down and Dirty Networking YouTube channel, where we have a bunch of videos and playlists for you to find specifically the topic that you're looking for. Doesn't matter if you're an introvert, a student, we've got something for you on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to have more access to tips, resources, articles, and things to ponder and raise your vibrational energy, then I encourage you to look at the Down and Dirty Networking Facebook and LinkedIn pages. We are dropping an article this week, tomorrow actually, that I think will be very insightful and will kind of build on this topic that we're talking about today. So make sure you check out the LinkedIn and Facebook pages for Down and Dirty Networking tomorrow, and check back often for some of the other posts, motivations, and insights and inspiration that we provide to help you connect more meaningfully and be more authentic and genuine in your relationship building. And stay tuned every Wednesday afternoon, sometime between 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I go live for our episode of Networking Know-How, because the more you know, the better you do, the better you feel. And so if you find this helpful, stay tuned. I will be going live next Wednesday, assuming technology doesn't fail me like it did today. And remember, keep moving forward. And until next week, happy networking.